And he got there at like, if I'm remembering correctly, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and this woman is just basically in tears, and basically you can imagine the thoughts going through her mind. I'm gonna die in the American West and be eaten by coyotes, and this is it for me. Welcome to another episode of the Essential Craftsman Podcast. I'm Nate. I've got my dad here, the Essential Craftsman. How are you doing?
Good, man.
We are going to talk about YouTube and some of the channels that we enjoy at the moment, things we've watched in the past, and just about the platform a little bit. So luckily, we know for a fact that most of you are YouTube people, so hopefully this is something a little different, and maybe the goal would be you come away with an idea of something new to watch.
Mm-hmm. And in the comments that we emerge with some good suggestions on something new to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So do you remember the first YouTube video you watched, or the first types of YouTube videos you watched?
It was in your house in Mesa. We were down there, I think it was maybe the first house that you lived in before you were married, maybe.
Okay.
I think it was that house. And you said, hey, check this out. And we sat down, and I just had no idea what to make of it. And here's these cats getting slammed in screen doors and doing backflips and stuff. And,
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, a squirrel, a base jumper, and some of that.
Yeah.
I couldn't even process what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But I was afraid you were wasting your time.
Well, I certainly was. No doubt about that. The nature videos for me were the first types of videos that I really got into, and especially African wildlife. And years ago, there was some good ones. Nowadays, I don't know if you've checked recently, but it's insane how many great videos, super high definition of fights and migrations and
ambushes. So I remember vividly now, just talking about this, that my idea about YouTube changed as soon as you were up visiting and introduced me to Battle at Kruger.
Yeah.
That video, that was just a revelation to me about African wildlife videos and the potential of people with cameras to capture things that just had never been seen before.
Yeah, the one I was watching recently was of this big herd of, I guess it was wildebeest, but crossing a river, and there's probably 1,000 animals, and the crocodiles kind of picking them off, as they can, and just amazing footage that we've said this before, but it feels a lot like watching something you kind of have no right to watch. Mm-hmm. If I had paid for a flight and accommodations and 2 weeks of travel and happened to see that, even then I would feel so lucky. But here we get to just kind of watch it on our TVs now, which, by the way, let me just say at the outset here that watching YouTube on your TV is the way to go. Not on your phone, not on your computer. Go to the app on your TV if you have one and watch it there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Closely related to that is hunting videos.
Oh, man.
And I don't know if you've gotten deep into the hunting circuit there, but...
So what, 5 years ago, like the year before we started our channel, I was getting pretty deep into YouTube. You had introduced me, and I was getting a little bit of familiarity, and I was watching the eternal battle between lions and hyenas, and I was watching. There's a manufacturer. I used to hunt a lot, and I bow hunted a little. And there's a manufacturer of an illuminated nock on an arrow. I think they're called Luminoc, actually. And I had never imagined that I could watch guys on stands and still hunting bow and arrow and watch that arrow travel it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it, I realized that it's sort of, I had been missing hunting since time and responsibilities had kind of displaced that for me. And I realized that I was getting kind of a very similar experience to hunting in watching these other guys, a lot like me, hunting. Mm-hmm. And so I just loved it, man. I mean, I will never have the experience of shooting a 72-inch Alaskan bull moose from a range of 8 feet, right in the middle of his chest with a bow. Boom. But I watched this guy do it. Mm-hmm. And I was sure the bull was going to kill him. You know, it was just amazing, the things that I could watch.
You were probably kind of like clenching your fists and sweating the whole time.
My heart rate was elevated.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I watched a hunting channel, a lot of them, but one of them in particular, and the host or the guide, I just enjoyed it so much hearing him do his calls, and I really feel like I got to know the guy kind of, and I just loved it. I feel like hunting, and we'll mention a few other sort of genres, but that's a genre that is just perfect for YouTube because it anybody with a camera can show their hunt. In fact, there's one video I stumbled into. I'll try to find a link to this one because it's so neat. This young kid shoots an elk with a bow, kind of like a frontal chest shot, and the elk just kind of tipped over, right onto his head.
Whoa.
In a way that at that time I had watched dozens of elk killed, and it was certainly unique. And this young kid celebrating with his dad, and it was so filmed in beautiful high def, probably just with a phone, but it's just so cool that we can kind of share these things with
all
these
people. Things. Yeah, skydiving and people hunting. Falconers hunting with falcons and with golden eagles. I have watched golden eagles hunting foxes and deer. I never imagined this, and I've had a front row seat.
There's some criticism, a decent amount about YouTube these days about how the platform has changed and YouTube is wrecking this beautiful thing that they once had. And I don't know if that's true. And when I talk about YouTube in general, I'm actually kind of, it's less YouTube. It's more just the ability for anybody to put content online, and that's not going away anytime soon. So I'm not overly concerned about YouTube and what the specifics are that they're doing, but more the beautiful fact that people can film things themselves and share it. And if you're searching for it, you can probably find it eventually. And I don't think that's going away.
And we can pick what we want to watch.
Yeah.
Perfect freedom in that way.
Although it is clear YouTube is certainly pushing and promoting like these late night shows. And
oh, really?
Yeah, it's weird. Like things that are more
YouTube.
Mainstream.
Oh, they're wanting to turn it into television.
I think.
Great.
I don't know if they're wanting to, or if television's client. I don't know what something, because there's a decent amount of like on my sidebar. Yeah, like NBC shows that I have no interest in that are just constantly getting in there. So I think people who are concerned about this, they probably have reason to be concerned. But okay, so hunting is great. Obviously, we have to mention Workbench channels, which is how I consider handyman channels, like our own, where we're showing tasks and projects and tools, kind of like hunting. This is another genre that is just perfect for YouTube. And man, there's just so many good ones. Are there any Workbench channels that have popped out to you lately?
Well, Alex Steele is not a Workbench channel, but man, that kid is fun. His YouTube videos are spectacularly engaging.
Yeah.
And that boy is a full-fledged take it to the bank blacksmith. I mean, he's not afraid. I don't think Alex Steele has been afraid since he was first. Has he ever been afraid of anything? I can't imagine it.
I don't know. That's a neat kid. It's kind of like I think of him like Tiger Woods, where here's this kid, his name is even Woods. Yeah. Tiger Woods. He's like, he has to be the best. And Alex Steele the same way. Like, he started as a kid. His name is Steele. He's so energetic and charismatic, and just, I mean, he is the blacksmith for YouTube.
He is
for the next generation. Also, I don't know. I wonder how many kids younger than him are, idolizing and following and wanting to be just like him. And that is, man, that's cool.
So Ethan Hardy, there's one right there. I mean, this young man's in Canada. I think so. Yeah, we sent him some ribbon burners.
Oh.
And he knows Alex, and I think he's made some hammers for, I don't know.
But there's probably 800 just like that who are at home banging away.
Where there's one, there's a zillion.
Really, really great channel. And he certainly kind of, if not raised the bar, set a standard for production and output. We definitely are doing our best to emulate, and whatever he's doing to create these great videos so frequently, man, a lot can be learned.
He was doing one a day for a long time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that happens.
I don't know. I think that he probably has help. There's probably people helping.
Gotta be.
Because we know that it does take a lot of effort. So great channel there. The other blacksmithing channel that's popped up recently is Black Bear Forge, and I don't know a ton about the guy, and I've only watched a couple of videos, but I really enjoy them.
Yeah, polar opposite from Alec.
Yeah,
I mean, Alex would have been in show business somewhere someday.
Yeah.
He would have done that, And Black Bear Forge guy, he's just got a cool little shop, and he's doing with good methods and good tools and good products, doing his thing and talking about it.
He's doing a great job making neat, creative things, and making great videos about it. So that's
with an emphasis on how to, right?
Yeah.
He's really kind of spelling out the how to.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. There's been if not a surge, but restoration videos, like people fixing up old tools. I think those are a little, if they're not easier to make, but you don't have to put your face on camera. You can just do it with your hands, and so people are less intimidated maybe. And so there's a lot of those, and those are always enjoyable and satisfying to watch. And there's just seems like there's 8 million of them right now. And I watched an anvil be repaired by, I think, a guy in Russia that was just jaw-dropping. The video, the repair, everything about it. So that's another great. I'm sure if you're one of our viewers, you probably are tuned into all of these and more, but I consider these all Workbench channels. Now, what about music? Do you listen to
live music
or watch music on YouTube?
So a little, but my niche is kind of old music. So as a kid in my teenage years, all my life, I've liked traditional jazz, Dixieland jazz. I play traditional jazz trombone, tailgate trombone. That's my style. And when I was a teenager, I was playing with a band. We'll talk about that sometime. But I listened to some guys that were playing then, Max Colley and the Amazing Rhythm Aces. Now this was a bunch of hardcore hippies. This was 1975, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here are these guys that they were in their late 30s, early 40s, rough looking from London, and so I mean they were rough. They were straight out of the Flower Child movement in the UK, and boy could they play. And I just fell in love with their style. And then there was a group out of Massachusetts, the New Black Eagle Jazz Band. They will always in my memory be the pinnacle of traditional jazz. Tony Pringle and Stan McDonald and those guys.
Great name for a band.
Oh yeah.
Cool name.
The name of the band. Did I tell you the New Black Eagles?
New Black Eagles. Yeah, that's amazing.
There was a Black Eagle jazz band 100 years earlier.
Oh, the New Black Eagles.
Yeah, or 90 years earlier. Okay. The New Black Eagles, and so they were purist in their approach to the music, and so I listened to them when I was a kid, and then veered off, and my LPs, my records all got warped in the sun, and so I couldn't listen to them anymore until YouTube. New Black Eagle, bam, there they are. Yeah. So I can listen to those guys. So here's a funny thing about Max Colley. So they were a rough bunch, and so I was listening to a single. I don't remember the tune. Maybe it was Ballin' the Jack, maybe. And right at the end, if you listen to the whole thing, those guys threw in a shot of a beautiful young woman in a compromising position in negligee right at the end of the video, where the people who were monitoring YouTube for inappropriate contact, where they wouldn't have stuck with that jazz thing all that time, they just threw in those frames at the end, and I thought, yeah, way to go, Max. Some things never change, right?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, whatever music you enjoy, and the specifics don't matter because people's tastes are so different, but whatever you listened to as a kid or 5 years ago, it is on YouTube, and probably there's live concerts that you can watch of those people and interviews with the actual artists, and just there is so much content around music and musicians that's just incredible.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed recently with this quarantine, a lot of musicians maybe they're not touring or playing shows the way they were, so they're playing live and putting concerts on YouTube in a way that they weren't a year ago, which is really cool. And I hope people stick with it, because there's been a few shows that were incredible. I watched the Post Malone Nirvana tribute concert. If you haven't watched that, it's got like 8 million views. But these guys got together and played a tribute concert, and I feel like I owe them a ticket price. It was just that amazing and that high quality, and I hope these artists all stick with that. I hope that's the future of it. All right. We talked about hunting, but we didn't mention fishing, and same thing could be said there. In fact, the channel that I was watching a few months ago was called Catch 'Em All Fishing, and this this super energetic, charismatic guy in Florida who is catching fish out of canals and storm gutters and putting them in a swimming pool in his backyard. This guy's a fanatic. I mean, he is into it, and I loved it. I just loved it. The camera's like shaking like crazy. He just basically is carrying this GoPro around. I loved it. Really? You ought to watch that. It's a type of thing. and I think a lot of people have this experience where I'm not particularly interested in, Gulf Coast fishing and the types of fish there, but I'm watching his channel.
Wow.
He makes it interesting. Yeah.
So what drew me in when I was still able to watch YouTube and was not part of it was spearfishing. I did some snorkeling as a kid. You lived in Hawaii, and I had a couple spear guns. You made a Hawaiian sling, didn't you? Did you do that?
No, I never made one, but I used one a couple times.
All right. So anyhow, man, it's exhilarating to watch those free divers spearfishing. It's out of this world.
It really is. Yeah, exactly. And you can enjoy that and experience it without having to pay the heavy price.
Yeah,
of building up all the skills and tools and travel to make
being
it
able to hold my breath more than 8 seconds.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'll call them personality channels, but it's people reading the news or giving commentary or just kind of chitter chatter. I guess it's vlogging. Some of it may be more important than others, but that's certainly a huge part of YouTube. Is there anything like that you watch?
Different than Jordan Peterson?
No, I like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Jordan Peterson
Yeah.
expanded my thinking a lot a year and a half ago or so when I was listening to him. A lot.
Yeah. I guess that's the point. You can be connected to ideas and people and lectures and thoughts that you may not have had otherwise. So that's a great kind of path to go down. Is just it's not academic, but I don't know what you call that type of thing.
Well, sometimes it's academic and it's enlightening and it's educational and it's what?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing about the dark web, I'm not even sure what that really means, except just a way to sort of categorize a type of thought, but I don't know.
You mean the intellectual dark web?
Yeah, the intellectual dark web. I'm not. I don't know about that. It's just interesting to hear different people think different thoughts.
I thought that framing of that intellectual dark web was just a little cheesy and kind of like a little self-grandiose for the people who decided they were part of it. I was kind of like, okay, guys, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the last thing we want to do is trade one class of elites for another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But point is, there's some really great thinkers and lectures and ideas on YouTube that are really fun. And even if they're not ideas you, if not believe in, but subscribe to, you can still get it from the horse's mouth.
That's right. And you don't have to read the whole book to get the punchline. I mean, if you're listening to the author and you listen to him, I don't know, 8 or 10 hours, you're going to get a lot of what he thinks is important that you would have had to go through his whole book to get. You know, and so I like that. So here's an interesting one is Kelly, my wife, Nate's mom. She watches assiduously and is notified. She has punched the notifications for Active Self-Protection, ASP, which is this guy, John
Moria, something like that?
Yes, Moria.
Something like that.
Something, who's teaching self-awareness and situational awareness and transitional spaces and what to do if you're armed and what to do if you're not armed and how to stay out of trouble and what to do if you find yourself in trouble. And he's showing all these videos of security cameras that catch sometimes just really shocking interactions between good guys and bad guys and bad guys and bad guys. And it's just, I think differently now about concealed carry and waiting your turn and taking your turn and she loves it and I watch quite a bit of it along with her.
So he kind of breaks down security camera footage of altercations and talks through what the defendant did right or wrong.
That's exactly it. He's got a very simple format. He comes on, he introduces what this one's going to be about. We're going to see this, we're going to see where this, but this issue is sponsored by BAM, and he's got 4 or 5 sponsors. Okay, I don't mind that. A guy's got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
And then the footage rolls. And he gets to the end and say, okay, now let's see what we can learn from that. And he'll jump back to the clips that illustrate, people making the mistake of sticking their handgun out there close enough that the bad guy could bat it out of their hand or get a hold of it. If it's a cop and his altercation and body cameras, and there's a lot of that, here's where he kind of lost control. Here's where he was taking a chance. Here's where he did great. Whoa, he's in trouble for that. A convenience store clerk, okay, when they respond quickly, here's anyhow, you always know a lot more, and I think are maybe somehow marginally safer for having learned those things, for having watched his videos.
A few months ago, I was watching a new channel called Matt's Towing and Recovery.
What's that?
This is a channel of this guy in southern Utah who has a tow business, but it's primarily kind of off-road towing recoveries. So people in their big trucks, or sometimes even like, Razors or Rangers who are buried in sand, and he goes out there in like a 4-wheel drive Jeep and tows them out.
Okay.
Doesn't sound too interesting, but it's a great channel. I really enjoyed it. And he's putting out a lot of regular content. It's just amazing that he's pulled out some really big RVs and fifth wheels and all these huge trucks just with his little Jeep in the sand. And it's kind of a good example of someone with some real skill, and the skill of, how to hook on and pull out being more important than super huge flashy equipment and stuff. It's really fun to watch.
Does he have winches and cables, or he just hooks directly on them?
He does, yes, and at times he's used all those things. And he has some big traditional tow trucks as well, but his Jeep is like a 98 or whatever XJ. That's like the boxy 4-door one, and he uses this strap it's really long, it's really thick, it's like as big around as your arm from what it looks like, and it's really stretchy. So he will hook onto the car, and it's probably like, I don't know, 25 or 30 feet long, and he'll just floor it, and it'll stretch and kind of
store some energy
and kind of yank the person out. And he might have to hit it a few times, but he just kind of tugs them out with this little Jeep in big sand. And it is so fun to watch. Anyways, he does a great job at telling, and this is, I think, what makes it so watchable, because every little expedition is kind of a story. He'll get a phone call. Okay, so-and-so, a rental car up, I can't remember the name of the Sand Hollow, some, southern Utah place. And so every little video is kind of a little story of this recovery, and you get to meet the person he's towing out. And one video that I'll mention, although I think he took it down, I went looking for it. I was so like gripped by it, but he towed this woman who was like 2 or 3 hours out in the desert. She was French. It was in a rental car. She got led off the wrong path by Google Maps. And she was so far out there, and she finally got a cell signal and called a tow company. She didn't know because her phone died, and he got there at like, if I'm remembering correctly, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and this woman is just basically in tears, and basically you can imagine the thoughts going through her mind. I'm gonna die in the American West and be eaten by coyotes, and this is it for me. And that might sound silly, but if you've ever been in a situation where you can see that it was very real for her, and he's just kind of talking, helping her, and she's like, "Don't leave, please don't leave." Getting his car, and it was just amazing. I think he took the video down, though. I wonder if she or somebody else thought it was too personal. I don't know, but hopefully there's another one of those. It was really, really great. Anyways, I'd recommend that channel completely. And if I misrepresented that story, Matt, I'm sorry, but that's how it was for me. And I think he actually kind of included that in a few other jobs. But anyways, neat channel and something different. Again, I'm not especially interested in towing, but that's one of the beautiful things about YouTube. You can see and learn new things, and if somebody can tell a good story, it almost doesn't matter as much what the subject matter is. You're there for the story. So
interesting.
I know you're not watching a lot of YouTube these days. I'm not watching very much, but unfortunately consuming YouTube is not really something we're doing a lot of these days.
Yeah, not too much to add, except there are some videos that I've seen that I'll never forget, like Alex Hanold, that rock climber boy.
Oh, yeah.
The things, and of course, National Geographic did the one on him climbing El Cap.
Yeah.
But he had YouTube footage on there of free solo climbing that it's this stuff of nightmares, right?
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. How about this? I think some of the best driver's education courses training you could give your teenagers is some of the driving footage from Russia. I mean, they've got dash cams everywhere over there, and the most extreme misbehavior behind the wheel that you have ever seen.
Yeah.
And you can see the wreck coming, and you could talk to your kids, say, see what speed will do you, see the erratic lane changes.
Yeah.
I think you can use it on that. Heavy equipment fails.
Yeah.
I have never been quite as guarded about loading tractors on trailers as I have been since I've watched some fails and tractors sliding off of trailers on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's excavator skill taken to whole new levels, although none of them better than Dexter Henry placing our rocks on our lot.
Heavy equipment should be mentioned. That's really a fun thing to watch on YouTube because it's sped up. You can really get a feel for how much work they can do. I watched a video of some excavators that must have been digging a foundation for a skyscraper, but there was 3 excavators, and one would take a load of dirt, reached up as high as he could to a little shelf. This excavator was just sitting on this little shelf of dirt. He would then pick the shovel up and lift it as high as he could, and another one would take it out. Anyways, just things, again, that you never saw before that you're seeing, and it was really beautiful. And heavy equipment's a good example. Even equipment I didn't know existed, like certain farm implements and harvesting machines that are, probably create the food that I eat in my house, but you can get a up close look at it. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
All right. Well, we would love if you guys put some suggestions in the comments on YouTube. As you can tell, we probably actually are only scratching the surface of the types of things that are available.
Yeah.
Ironically, since we've become more involved in YouTube, I think both of us probably watch less and are less tuned into the types of things going on there. There's certainly some trends and things come and go in terms of style and types of content, but overall, we're huge fans. We love it. I really recommend that you try watching it on your TV if possible. It's especially our videos. You can see it better. It's high definition, so it's going to look as good as anything on Netflix. And some people are even making 4K videos. So if you haven't done that yet, give it a try.
Yeah.
All right. Anything to add before we wrap up?
Just that YouTube maybe has driven home for me the idea that the more you know about something, the more you realize how little you know. And as I think about now how big YouTube has become, which is just sort of a pale reflection of how big the world is, right?
Yeah.
How many people there are and how many wonderful things happen and how many awful things happen. YouTube is just a way for me to kind of get in touch with how teeny, how insignificant is my claim to what I know compared to how many things there are to know. So that's one of the things that I've benefited most from YouTube, I think.
I'm a little not concerned, but aware there's so much content being put on YouTube every day and every hour that it's already become really hard to filter through to the actual good and interesting bits. And it seems like there's more and more, I don't want to say junk content, but, like I said, compilations or things that are just truly a waste of time. I hope someone can help kind of catalog and organize it in a more helpful way. Maybe that already exists. Maybe somebody's already done that legwork, but it'd be nice if there was some type of place you could go where all the sorting has been done and you can really find the good stuff. But that's tough to say too, because what people will then assume is that we're talking about big channels that are producing great content. But that's not actually it, because a lot of the most interesting videos come from a person who maybe never uploaded a video but happened to catch some event, and so they
Battle of Kruger.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. There's no magic bullet here, but we're grateful for the platform. Whatever comes of it, I'm sure that we'll continue to enjoy whatever iteration of it gets. And yeah, maybe there'll be a competitor someday, and I'm sure that'd be great for everybody.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You can subscribe to this on our second channel, EC2. And if you don't mind, will you, next time you're watching one of our main videos, leave a comment or remind our regular viewers that this podcast exists if you're enjoying it. And I should say, leave a review for us on iTunes. It helps alert them and other people that the show is happening. And I think a good portion of our regular viewers are still unaware. Okay, we'll catch you next time.